Okay, so good afternoon again, everyone, and welcome to the virtual launch of John Leon in Manila. So I'm Cheska from Estate Wine, and I'll be your moderator for today. So I know you're probably all excited already to hear about the new set of wines that we have in store for you. So we've got an amazing lineup of people all the way live from Spain. So I think you kind of see them already. And they're here to tell you all about the rich history and wines from John Leon. So to start, let me introduce our Managing Director at Estate Wine, Ms. Chio Watanabe, for a few opening remarks. Ms. Chio?
Thank you, Cheska, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Estate Wine is a boutique wine shop based in the Legazpi Village, Makati City. And we are proud to be the exclusive partner to Berry Brothers Road, the oldest wine and spirits merchant in UK. We always place great emphasis on quality, and we personally handpick all the wines in our portfolio. We are so thrilled that we are adding John Leon in our portfolio, a winery with an amazing origin story, which you'll be hearing soon, and have an exciting lineup of wines. Without a doubt, COVID-19 has affected us all greatly, but we did not let the circumstances let us down in creating unique wine experiences for you. I'd like to thank the entire John Leon team for collaborating with us for this virtual event. Without further ado, let me turn the floor to the brand ambassador of Familia Torres, Miss Brenda Sanchez, and John Leon's managing director, Miss Mireya Torres. Thank you, everyone, and please enjoy.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Sorry, good evening or good afternoon for you. Thank you very much to be here today with us. I had the pleasure to be sit next to Mireya Torres, who is in charge of John Leon Winery and is part of the family as well. So she will tell us what she is doing at the moment. Hello, Mireya.
Hello, well, thank you very much. It's also for me a pleasure to be seated next to Brenda. And well, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to do this tasting of Jean Leon today. Thank you, Salim, and thank you, State Wine and all the team for organizing this event. My name is Mireya, so I'm a member of the 5th generation of the Torres family. Nowadays, we are working as members of the 5th generation in the whole company. There is Cristina Torres, she's in USA. My brother Michael, he's the general manager of the whole company. And then I'm now in this moment, I'm responsible for the innovation in the Torres family. I'm the general manager of Jean Leon Winery. I'm also the president of the Miguel Torres Foundation that is helping, and financing projects that are related to the childhood. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. And so perhaps Brenda, now it has arrived the moment to start, no?
Yes, exactly. So the idea of today is we prepare a dynamic and short presentation for you. On the first part, we will start with the story. We will introduce you to the John Leon world, and afterwards we will discover some of the wine and we will taste them. As already said, feel free to ask any questions in the box, and we will try to answer you all that question. So let's start. To start, we need to say Jean Leon Winery is a boutique winery, and we need to talk about Jean Leon. But to understand Jean Leon life, to understand him, we need to keep in mind 3 aspects. The first one will be a man. And why a man? Because Jean Leon was a visionary man. He had a really interesting and challenging life. He was born in Santander. Santander is in the north of Spain. And since he was always like a kind of very active child. He always was looking for more, no? At the age of 13, he born in 1928. And at the age of 13, he and the whole family moved to Barcelona. His born house was destroyed in a fire. And here in Barcelona, he started thinking about his first dream. He always wants to travel the world. He always wants to discover places. And one of his first ambition was to travel to the United States. So with this in mind, he decided to fulfill this first dream, and he tried several times to cross to the United States. He actually tried 8 times, but the 7 times was like he couldn't do it, and was on the 8th time that he at the age of 19 years when he managed to cross from Spain to the States. First, he traveled to France. In France, he did different jobs. He worked like a taxi driver. He worked like a waiter to try to survive. And when he had the opportunity in that 8th attempt, he managed to cross from the Le Havre port to the United States. And here, so we can see this man with a very idea and try to always complete his dream, no? And it's very interesting, and we need to say here as well, the real name of Jean Leon was Seferino Carrion, wasn't Jean Leon at that time. But when he arrived to New York, he changed the name because he decided he wanted to have a fancy name, something more glamorous, no? He changed to Jean Leon. The second aspect I was saying that we need to keep in mind is the time. We are talking about the 50s in the United States when was the golden era. Everything was possible. People was living the American dream in a way. And you can imagine a young teenager like Jean Leon, 19 years old, arriving to the United States from Spain. For him was like a shock, you know. He wanted to do things. He wanted to explore, to in a way to discover the world through his eyes. At the beginning, of course, when he arrived, he needed to survive. So he take different jobs in the States, in New York City, sorry. And one of his jobs was to be a taxi driver. And please keep this in mind, and then we will talk why. And his second job, after that, he decided to move to Hollywood, and he was working in a restaurant, Villa Capri, the Frank Sinatra restaurant. And again, in this moment, we have stars, presidents, and people coming and going. He was living surrounded by stars, no? You have some names in the presentation like Marilyn Monroe, John Fitzgerald, Sasa Gabor, different people like were from that era. And at that time, he met Joe DiMaggio, and what was with him when he decided to make his second dream was to have a restaurant, one of the most famous and prestigious restaurants in Beverly Hills. He decided to open La Scala, and in 1956 was the inauguration of La Scala, and quickly started to be a success. Famous people, stars, directors were going like frequently to this restaurant. So Jean Leon was very proud of that, was happy to have this place. They have an amazing wine list. He was in love with French wines as well. We need to say that. And one actually as well, I mentioned before, like a different president passed to the restaurant, and he was one of the biggest achievements of Jean Leon's career was to serve the catering for the inauguration dinner of Ronald Reagan in the White House when he became president in 1981, if I'm not wrong with the dates. And he wasn't only present with the food, with the catering, sorry, he was present also with the wines, with the Chardonnay and with the Gran Reserva Cabernet that we will be tasting today. And the third aspect that we need to mention is about the wines, of course, no? After he fulfilled these dreams, he wanted more. And I think this is important to keep in mind because from here you can see the personality of Jean Leon, no? Always a dreamer, always a fighter. He always want more. A man like always try to do something and to start growing. And he even in the story of Jean Leon, they have a lot of challenge, a lot of problems. That if we have more time, we can discuss it, but we need to keep it like a line. So he started traveling the world, trying to find a place with the perfect conditions, the perfect qualities and personality for his wine. and he found in the Penedès region, with a lot of advice. As you know, Penedès is a place with a lot of history, thousands of years of viticulture history, and he found here in Penedès the right place to build his winery. So I'm right, no, Mireia? So maybe you can give us more information.
Yes, exactly, Brenda. He started the winery. He started to produce prestigious wines, and he was very successful. Unfortunately, it was in '94 then that he noticed that he had a cancer, and his son and his daughter, they didn't want to continue with the winery. So I feel this personal compromise in order to continue the project of Jean Leon, no? And nowadays, I'm working with Rosé Catassus. She's also a winemaker she started 3 years ago in Jean Leon. And we still have, the collaboration with Jaume Rovira, the ancient winemaker that started the project with Jean Leon in the 60s. No, he retired some years ago, but he's still coming every day to the winery, and he's giving us his advice. So we are very happy to have him here with us. Nowadays we are approximately 30 persons in the company working in order to produce very good wines. We can see Jaume Rovira that retired some years ago, Roger Catassus, the winemaker. Josep Bruna is the chief grape grower. He's managing all the vineyards and helping us also with a lot of projects of sustainability in the vineyard. And then you can see also the rest of the team, in the visitor center, in marketing, in the winery, and also in administration. So the winery is located in the middle of the Penedès at 300 meters of altitude, and it's surrounded by mountains. So where you can see Santa Maria Miralles, there we have the pre-coastal mountain range. Then we have also the mountains that separate the influence from the sea in our winery. So all the mountains, that is the mountains of Garraf. And then we have also the mountains of La Serralada de Montserrat. At the top of this Serralada, there is the spiritual center in Catalonia, that is the monastery of Montserrat. So we are surrounded by mountains, and all the vineyards that we have are near the winery. So in total, we have 150 hectares, and from these 150, there are 65 hectares that are planted with vineyards. So we have in our domain, we have a lot of old vineyards that were planted in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But the last years also we have planted some vineyards, new vineyards of Chardonnay, of Petit Verdot, and also the last year we started also to plant small vineyards of Forcada and Moneu, which are these varieties that have been recovered by the Torres family. You can see here some images of the vineyards. You can see that the landscape is very view, and I really recommend, if you haven't been visiting in our winery, to come if it's possible, or in the next future, to come to visit us and to do activities and to see all these nice landscapes from the Penedès. So, if we talk about the sense of our wines, we have to tell you that, of course, Jean Leon, with this vision, he started to plant these French varieties that were Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Chardonnay in the 60s. So he was really a pioneer planting these varieties, because in that period, these were not the varieties that were typical in the Penedès, no? But he was assessed by Dr. Amerin in Davis, and he recommended. He said that with our soil and our climate, these varieties could give really very good wines. And it was true, because he became, very famous with his wines in the 70s and in the 80s. Sorry. So also, I would like to mention that for us it's very important the single vineyard wine certification that gives the Catalan government. So nowadays there are 12 single vineyard wines, and there are other wineries that are working with this certification also. Not in the Penedès, but yes, in Bages, in Priorat, in Terra Alta also. And there are other wineries that are coming also and are going to start to work with this certification. So this certification at the end is expressing, that these wines are extraordinary, good combination of variety, soil, and climate. No, and in order to get this certification, you need to show really a very strict traceability. You need to have lower yields, you need to have a higher rating in tasting in the appellation of origin, and you need also to have some recognitions, important recognitions during many years in the markets. So this is something that is not easy to have. But there are other wineries now that are coming in the next future, and this at the end will be, the more official certification from the Catalan government in order to express the quality of the best wines. Then we have also the organic or bio certification since 2012 in all of our bottles. But we started in 2008 with organic agriculture. No? So we try to be as much as sustainable as possible, always doing all the treatments with natural products, and trying to have our vineyards as much as balanced as possible. It's true also that in the next years we are also going to have the possibility to have drip irrigation in majority of our vineyards, and this is also going to help us also in order, to get a better balance. I'm thinking a little bit on what is going to happen perhaps in the next 20 years with the climate. So with drip irrigation, we are going to be able, to be more stable, with the production along the years, and to have a very high quality in our wines. Also, as a chief innovation manager in the whole group, I'm also trying to do a lot of projects related to sustainability in Jean Leon. So I'm going to mention some of the projects. No? For instance, we are participating in an European project where we are doing trials in our vineyards with a product that comes, it's a fertilizer that is coming from the insects. So at the end, this fertilizer has lower carbon emissions in its production, and this can help us also in order to reduce the carbon footprint in our company. Also, we are now trying, to promote the IoT and big data in our vineyards in order to, be more efficient, and also trying to put sensors in the soils, trying to see how is the capacity of our soils. No? This is going to be very interesting, especially, with the regenerative viticulture, where you reduce the tillage in the vineyards. And we want also, it's important for us, to measure with different type of sensors, how is the evolution of the soils, in terms of biodiversity, in terms of water retention, in terms of capacity of the soils, and other parameters. Also, we are collaborating in an European project with cover crops, also trying to enhance the biodiversity. And also we are measuring how much carbon is fixed by this cover crop, and this can be something very interesting. With this cover crops management of the regenerative viticulture, at the end also you increase also the organic matter in the soils, And this is also helping in order to retain more water in the soils, to be more resistant, to climate change. And also, you can also avoid or reduce the erosion of the soils with heavy rainings. Also, the last years in vineyards of Jan Leon and also in Torres, for the single vineyard wines, we have been working isolating the autochthone yeast in order, to find the Saccharomyces and non-Saccharomyces combination that would be ideal for the character in our single vineyard wines. And this is very important because at the end you are giving special character to your wines, that is helping, to differentiate from other wines, avoiding a little bit the commercial yeast. But it's important, at the end with all these projects that you are assuring, the right fermentation, because sometimes working with autochthone yeast, if you do not parameter really what you are putting in your juice, at the end you can have also some problems with final fermentation. And with these projects, we have isolated really the best yeast. Not only because they give a special character in the nose and in the mouth of the wines, also because you can assure that the alcoholic fermentation finish in the right way. We are also participating in projects, doing images from our vineyards, and with these images, with drones or with satellites, we do vigor maps, and with these vigor maps, with our tractor, when our tractors runs around the vineyard, it has a geolocalization, and then we have introduced these vigor maps in the tractor. So he puts more phytosanitary products or less phytosanitary products depending of if the geolocalization. So if there is more vigor, the tractor adds more product, and if there is less vigor, doesn't add any product at all. So at the end, this is helping us to reduce the quantity of copper or sulfur that we put in our vineyards. Also this year we have started with a project. It's an European project that with a French company, and at the end they are doing trials in different countries in the world with a UV light. What is helping this UV light? Doing treatments with UV light during the day, you are enhancing the phytolexins generation by the plant, and at the end you are more resistant to illness, and we can really reduce at the end perhaps between 30 and 50% the phytosanitary treatments. So this could help if the results at the end of the project are very good. This is going to help us also in order to be more sustainable. And finally, in order also to reduce the emissions, we have also reduced the weight of the bottles in the 3055 range and the Nativa range. We are going also to do investments in renewable energy in the next years. And also we have now electric car chargers available in the visitor center. So, and now we are going to start the most interesting part, the tasting.
Yes, we will start with the wines. We will talk a little bit about the wines. And as Mireia said before, you need to keep in mind, like the Jan Leon have a strict and big commitment with the environment. Mireia explained us. I always get amazed when I hear her, like about all the things and process and all the innovation they are doing in the winery, and this is a really interesting part of Jan Leon. So yes, we have the portfolio. Yes, you can see this pyramid if you want to explain, Mireia.
Okay, so the 3055 range is our medium range. With we are trying to produce wines, with a lot of fruit, with a lot of freshness, with a good acidity, and they are really ideal for wines by the glass in the restaurants. Then we have also the range Nativa. This is a new range that we launched last year. Unfortunately, we launched this wine. This is a Charello, and this is going to be continuing. This wine is going to be produced every year with the same variety. Unfortunately, as I said, we launched this wine during the COVID, and we had a lot of problems, in order, to introduce in the markets, because, at the end, the majority of the bars, restaurants, and hotels, they were closed here in Spain. And so this year we are continuing with this range with the next vintage. Then we have also the experimental wines. This is a wine that we launch every year with a different variety. There is not a continuity from one year to another one, and usually we produce 2,000 bottles, 3,000 bottles. The last vintage that we launched was a Chenin Blanc, and this year we are going to launch Petit Verdot. Then we have also the single vineyard wines that we introduced before, with the Chardonnay Viña Gigi, the Merlot Viña Palau, the Cabernet Sauvignon Viña Le Havre, Reserva, and then the icon wine from our winery, which is the Gran Reserva Viña Scala.
Perfect. Yes. So, okay, some of you have already the wines with you. So we will start talking about a little bit about the wines, about the vintage and the soil, and then we talk about the tasting. Yes.
So the 3055 Chardonnay. It's a very interesting wine, very fresh, very fruity. You can see that the Chardonnay is a variety that is working very well in our vineyards. The vintage 2020 was a vintage that was a little bit complicated in terms of pluviometry, not only because of the COVID in terms of sales, but also in terms of production. We had some problems with a lot of rains during the spring period. So we really had to work very hard. The great grower manager had to wake up sometimes at 4 o'clock in the morning, to do the treatments, and it was really complicated because, with organic agriculture, sometimes if it's a rainy year, it's more complicated, no? But at the end, we could manage the situation. It's true that the production was a little bit lower in comparison with other years, but the quality of the wines is really extraordinary.
I need to say first, and this is for me is very touchy, no? All the wines of Jean Leon, the name of the wines that you will taste today and we will be presenting today, the name is referred to a milestone in Jean Leon life, and this is very very emotive, no? In the case of the 3055 range, the name 3055 is because the license, the taxi driver license that Jean Leon used when he was at the first time in New York City. Do you remember I told you before, one of his first job was to be a taxi driver? These wines are an homage to him, to this brave, young and dreamer Jean Leon, no? And I think this is the core of the heart of the 3055 range. There are fresh wines made to drink young. They can express all the atypicity of the different grape varieties, and they can be very versatile, no? In the case of the 3055 Chardonnay, we are talking about 100% Chardonnay, fermentation in stainless steel tanks. We want to preserve the fruitiness and the freshness of this wine, so it's not any oak contact here. And then if you see the wine, I don't know if you already tasted, but if you see the color of this wine, you will see like it's a very pale lemon color, very bright, very limpid, no? And if you have the opportunity to smell it, I don't know, some of you have it, and if not, you can remember it. And then when you have the possibility, you will taste it. You will see that the wine is very intense, no? In the nose, it's very intense. They have a really nice aromas of this kind of tropical fruit on one side, a little bit of pineapple, stone fruit like peach, like white peach, but you have as well some citrus nut. You have some green apple, you have a little bit of kind of lemon zest as well. So it's very rich on the nose. They have a lot of aromas, like make you, I don't know, this for me make me travel to the Mediterranean weather, not to Spain, directly to Spain. And then if you taste the wine, I already tasted, but if you not, you can do it now. If you taste the wine, you will see the entry is very refreshing. The acidity is beautiful. We are talking a 2021. It's a young wine, and this style is a style like it's made to drink young. It's made to drink fresh. The acidity is beautiful. It's just cut your palate. It's give you all that freshness and all that fruit that we've been talking about. No, all that citrusy, all that green notes as well, mixed with a little bit of tropical, not a lot. And then if we think about food, well, for me, this is a kind of wine like you can easily drink like an aperitif with any aperitif that you like, but as well can be very good with different dishes because of this acidity, this cleanity that they have, this brightness. I think it's very good with different fish and seafood. It's very crispy on the palate as well, so will be perfect with some calamar, with some octopus, with some fresh salad as well. Vegetables, the ones who don't eat any seafood can do it with some fresh vegetables as well, like green vegetables maybe. I think it's a very big range of combination that you can easily pair with this wine. So,
and Brenda, this is a wine that Jean Leon started to produce from the very beginnings when he started the project of a Chardonnay. And this wine was called Petit Chardonnay, no? And it was later that we tried, you know, to explain a little bit the start of Jean Leon's life in New York, and that's why we changed the name, no? But this is a wine that already existed when Jean Leon was alive.
Wow, yes, it's beautiful, eh? So I hope you enjoy it. And we will go to our second wine. Our second wine, we will continue in the whites. So will be the Viña Gigi.
Yes. So Gigi is the name of Jean Leon's daughter. She's the manager of the restaurant Scala in Beverly Hills. She's still alive. And this is a little bit an homage of his family. This vineyard was planted in 1967. It has 5 hectares. The soil is a calcareous clay soil. You can see here that we are talking about very poor soils, you know, with in general with a high content of calcareous and with a high pH, no? But it's true also that these soils they has a lot of loam, and at the end, if we have rains, no, in the spring, which is something very usual in the Penedès, they retain a lot of water, and then we can achieve really a very good maturity, and these varieties are working very well. Of course, the Chardonnays nowadays are planted everywhere. We are talking that there are Chardonnays in Australia, in California, in Burgundy in France, and also here in Catalonia. No? And the style and the character is a little bit different. No? Perhaps I would say that the Chardonnays in general that are planted more in the Mediterranean countries, they have a little bit more of ripe fruit in the nose and perhaps more tropical fruit. No?
Yes, correct. I agree with you, Mireia. I think this wine is well. Sorry, you can tell us about the vintage.
Yes, the vintage 2018 was, sorry, Brenda.
No,
I forgot to tell that the vintage 2018 was a little bit more rainy. In general, we had a lot of rain during all the spring, and lower temperatures at the beginning of the year. So everything started a little bit later than usual. It's true also that we have a heavy rain, in October, at the end of October, but thanks God, here in Jean Leon, we already had finished our harvest, and it was for us very good, all this water, in order, to retain this water in our soils for the next season, no? But it's true that it was a year with high temperatures in summer, a lot of rains in the spring, and lower temperatures at the beginning of the year. And this Gigi is a wine that is partially fermented in barrel. This is something also that we have changed a little bit, because when Jean Leon started the project, it was 100% fermented in barrel. The barrels were of American oak, and nowadays we are working 50% fermented in barrel, and the the oak is French oak. So we try to keep to keep a little bit more the fruitiness of the wine, and perhaps also the malolactic fermentation is not so extreme as before. Nowadays we are doing 15-20% malolactic in order to keep the acidity. And when Jean Leon started this wine to produce his wine, perhaps he did more than 80% malolactic fermentation.
Yes, and when you explain that, I think that make the right sense with this wine. The ones who have it at home and can taste it today, if you compare, we have two different Chardonnays. No? Chardonnay in general is a really versatile grape variety, and the good part of Chardonnay is depend of which winemaking techniques. Of course, depend of the soil and the climate, but then is the wine that you will have, no? And in the case of the Viña Gigi, as Mireia said, you have more tropical fruit on the nose, no? That tropical fruit is more intense. You still have that stone fruit as well, but it's like a kind of a stone fruit which is a little bit more ripe than the one before, than the 3055. And one thing like always amazed me about wines is the acidity. It's this fresh acidity that the wines could retain is amazing, no? If you taste already the Jean Leon Chardonnay, the Viña Gigi Chardonnay, sorry, you will see like it's on the palate. The entry is a little bit more bigger than the first one. Is with more presence, but you have still that freshness and that elegance that coming from that acidity, no? It's gonna be more rounded. You're gonna have a little bit more weight. It's going to be a little bit more creamy as well. And the reason is we'll be talking that we have a partial malolactic fermentation. We have 6 months of aging in French oak as well. And as well, you need to keep in mind that this wine spent more than 6 months in bottle before release to the market. So yes, this at the end will give us a wine which is very balanced. You don't feel that the oak. You have these subtle notes of creamy of vanilla, but very well integrated with the whole wine. And for me, always Viña Gigi is a very gastronomic wine. It's a wine like you can pair with very subtle and very elegant and fine dishes. I will think in something creamy with a creamy sauce, like a monkfish with creamy sauce, like a meaty fish, like salmon, a Ceps risotto as well, maybe. I think you can play with all that creamy side, like with the freshness of this wine will go to cut your palate, but as well with the weight will complement very easily, no? So yes. This is our Viña Gigi Chardonnay. So we will move to the third wine. Sorry, we are having technical issues today.
Perfect. So now the next wine is the Rosé 3055. This wine is in majority made with Pinot Noir. And I have to tell that the Pinot Noir is a variety that Jean Leon started also to plant in the 60s in the domain. But it's a variety that needs more altitude in order to get really, the right aromas and the right freshness. So it didn't work so well as he expected. So he changed that variety and he planted more Cabernet and more Chardonnay. This is the vintage 2020, so the climate I already talked about it. It was a rainy year with a little bit of difficulties in order to manage the organic agriculture, but at the end we were very happy with the results. It's true also that this year we got some frost also in not only COVID and not only a lot of rain. We got also a little bit of frost in the vineyard that we have at 500 meters of altitude for the Pinot Noir. So we lost a little bit of a part of the harvest. But at the end, so we produced less wine that vintage as we wanted, but we tried to keep the quality as usual. No?
So, sorry, Mireia.
No, it's okay.
Oh. So yes, the 3055 Rosé is a amazing wine. I will say. I don't know if we have a lot of fans of rosé wines here. I'm one. I'm a rosé wine lover, and I think you will see the color. The color is beautiful. No, it's very elegant. It's this pink pale color that make you think in Mediterranean, in the beach, sun, a little bit of summer as well. And I think it's as Mireia explained, the Pinot Noir is a very difficult grape. No, it's a grape like need a lot of love and everything to adapt to the right conditions. And here what we have is again a very fresh wine, very elegant, that we can have all the idea of this grape variety. If you already smell it, you will see like it's on the nose is less pronounced than the Chardonnays, because the Chardonnay were a little bit more pronounced on the nose. But you will have all that subtle aromas that is, if you really concentrate, you will have all the red fruit, strawberry, raspberry, little bit of cherry. With the citrus side, you will have a little bit of peach as well. That is a combination of both. And I always have in this wine a little bit of a flower, like a rose petal, just a little hint there, and that make me want a full glass of wine, no? And then if you already taste it on the palate again, we'll have a really fresh entry. We'll have a medium acidity, very interesting. Keep in mind, we have a little bit of tannins as well. We are talking about a Pinot Noir, which is a black grape variety, sorry. And we have a little bit very fine tannins, and this will complement, or your palate will be very silky, fresh, still in this range that we've been talking about. 3055 are young wines, are fresh wines, are made to drink it now with a little bit of, with the right temperatures. In this case, I would suggest 10, 12 degrees, and will be perfect. And if we talked about food pairing, I will say this wine is perfect with everything. I will say as an aperitif, again, will go very good with tapas. You know, here in Spain, we are used to eat tapas, different tapas. You can create your own tapas with the different things that you have. It's good with charcuterie as well, very good with charcuterie, will complement and cut your palate as well. And I can think in some salads and white meat as well, some roast chicken maybe. Do you have a lot of play, no? With the 3055 range, you have you can have a really nice ideas of food and wine pairing. So our fourth wine will be the 3055. Oh, sorry, Mireia. Yes, Merlot Petit Verdot.
Yeah. Well, so now we are going to pass to the reds. This is a wine that is a combination of Petit Verdot and Merlot, and it's true that we have changed a little bit the percentage of these varieties along the years, because we have seen also with the climate change that the Petit Verdot is a variety that is very interesting in terms of maturity. No, it's a variety that is resistant to dryness, that achieves the maturity 1 month later than the Merlot, where the temperatures are not so high. So at the end, we think it's a variety for the future, especially with the climate change. And also this variety, the wine at the end have a nice combination because the Merlot gives you this black fruit in the nose and these tannins, no, that are very soft. And by the other side, the Petit Verdot gives you the spiciness and also, you know, the acidity, and also the black fruit in the nose, no. So it's they are a very good combination. And the 2019 was a year that was quite dry in general. We had very low yields in the vineyards because we had a very low pluviometry. So just a little bit of rain in April and May, and then a little bit in August. So it was very complicated years in terms of dryness, no? And we had, it's true that in general we had lower temperatures in comparison with other years. Perhaps in July the temperatures were a little bit higher, but in the rest of the months in general the temperatures were quite moderate. So this wine has been, in general, we ferment it in style stills, and then we do malolactic fermentation in approximately 40% of the wine has been aging in barrels, and then if the wine is in barrel, we do the malolactic fermentation in the barrel. And it has been approximately during 4 months. No, so our idea in this wine is to have a lot of fruitiness and nice complexity and freshness.
Yes, and you did it, Mireia, because the complexity, the freshness, and the fruitiness you have all in this wine. As Mireia explained us a little bit about the Merlot and Petit Verdot, again, you will see the color. This is we are talking about 2019, deep purple color. And then on the nose, if you already smell it, the ones that you have at home, it's beautiful, no, with all these black fruits. We were talking about, we have black cherries, kind of sour black cherries. We have blueberries as well. We have a little bit of plum. And as well, we have that spicy notes, no? We have a little bit of peppery note.
Black pepper.
Black pepper, exactly, yes, a lot of black pepper. It's very aromatic, very intense on the nose as well. And then if you drink, if you taste the wine in your palate, we have almost like a sweet entry, even if the wine is dry, but we have almost a sweet entry. It's very juicy. I feel like the tannins are very smooth. As Mireia explained, this is a medium tannin wines. They don't have a lot of tannin, so it's very easy to pair with different dishes. I always like to, in the case of Merlot, I really like to pair with dishes that have as tomato-based sauce, for example. And this is a young wine, it's fresh. You can pair easily with a pizza, for example. You can go for a pasta. You can go for like a roasted turk as well, with some barbecue, some barbecue ribs as well. There are different dishes like you can pair easily with some vegetables. Again, if you like you don't eat meat, you can go for barbecue vegetables like some pepper as well on the barbecue. That will be amazing. So yes, and I think it's a beautiful, very concentrated wine with a long aftertaste as well. Like I've been talking and I still have him in my palate. I still have the wine. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And
do you think it combines very well with some type of dishes, this wine, Brenda?
Yes, I think like probably again, so with some pasta with a tomato sauce base, I will go as well for like roasted turkey as well, like a chicken, roasted chicken. So I think like you can pair easily because we'll go well with some kind of meat. But as well, you can easily pair, for example, with like Parmesan aubergine, for example. That will be perfect as well because they have acidity, freshness, and fruitiness, and that will go very easily with that.
And I did also some matching with sushi also.
Okay.
And it combines very well also with salmon. Yes, raw salmon.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's good because we need to break that idea like we cannot eat black wines, red wines sushi or with fish, no? And I think you are right, with some sushi that will be perfect. Again, we have this freshness that will go perfectly with sushi. We need to try.
Yeah.
I need to try. You already tried.
So the next one. So the next one is the Viña Le Cabra. It's a Cabernet Sauvignon blend with it's a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. This vineyard, the oldest one were planted in 1968. It has 16 hectares, but it's true that the last years we have been also planting several plots also with Cabernet for the future, no? And well, you know that the Cabernet Sauvignon is a variety that gives you wine with a nice structure, and that is working very well here in our climate. And the Cabernet Franc, it's a variety that we put approximately between 10 and 15% in the blend, and it has a nice acidity. It has this bell pepper notes, some spiciness that is also interesting. And at the end, we have kept the old traditional blend of Jean Leon, because when he started to produce red wines in the winery, he started with this blend of Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. So in the vintage 2015, in general, was a vintage with normal pluviometry. So it was not a very dry year, but it was not a rainy year. We had low temperatures in the beginnings of the year with some rains, and then, like always, you know, July, high temperatures. But then it was very interesting because during the maturity, we got some rains in August that disturbed a little bit the white wines, but not the red wines, because it was a good rain. It was very welcome for the red varieties. And then we could really achieve a maturity, you know, with low temperatures, low maturity, with a maturity that was, you know, a little bit slower because the temperatures were more moderate. So it was a good year for reds, 2015, and we got very good qualities for the reds. And this is a reserva. So in Spain, when you put reserva, this means minimum 1 year in the barrel and then 2 years in the bottle. It's true that sometimes it's a little bit confusing for the consumers, because in other countries, you know, they export wines with the mention of reserva and has not the same meaning as in Spain, no? And here in Spain, they are very strict. So the appellation of origin, they control really that you are aging the wines in barrels the time that is necessary to put this mention.
Yes, you are right what you say. And we need to mention two things here, two interesting things. First, the name Viña Le Havre, as we said. Every wine is named after a specific moment on the life, a specific milestone on the life of Jean Leon. And in the case of Le Havre, will be because this one was the port. Do you remember, if we came back to the story, I told you when he managed in the daytime to cross from France to the United States, he crossed from the port of Le Havre in France, in the north of France. So this wine is a kind of tribute to that point from where Jean Leon make reality one of his dreams, no? To cross to the United States. And second point, and continue to what Mireia was saying about the Reserva, is again, you need to keep in mind that this wine is aging for 12 months, but it's spent 2 years in bottle before release to the markets. So this gives us idea that the wine will be a more complex wine, no? A more wine with a really nice capacity to age. And this is another important point. Like Cabernet Sauvignon is a grape like have a really potential to age very well. And in the case of Jean Leon, specifically in the case of the Jean Leon wines, the single vineyards, with time, we saw like we taste different vintage, different old vintage, and have the availability, the capacity, sorry, to age very well. So you will have wines with the time. You will have wines with a lot of complexity. This is a nice point. The wines who I always like to buy wines when I go to a place and I really like a wine. I like to buy one for drink it and one for keep it, and I keep the wine for some years, and then I saw. When I buy several, but you can buy two if you want. You left one, and you can compare. You can come back to the time like you tasted. And in the case of specifically this case, you will see that we are talking since we start with the young Merlot Petit Verdot. We moved to the 2015 Cabernet Sauvignon with a little bit of Cabernet Franc, and you will see that the color start to change. No, we are talking about age. We are talking about more experience. I like to say, no, the color still will be deep, but you will have some garnet hue there. Like we start talking about the age, and if you already smell your wine, the wines that they have the wine at home. Again, really interesting concentration. For me, it's a mix between the black fruit that we talk about, that black cherries, that black plum, mixed with that pepper, no, that roasted pepper, that green bell pepper, like we always find a little bit on the Cabernet Sauvignon, but it's not the one like you smell and you smell just pepper. No, it's a very well compenetrated with the fruit as well. No, you have this kind of ripe fruit. And some touch of vanilla as well, a little bit of smoky note as well. Like I have, when we send it to you the recommendation for wines, I always, in the case of these wines, I recommend like you open the wine 30 minutes before, because this kind of wine need a little bit of oxygenation to open, and if you leave it in your glass, you will see the wine is evolving and changing and giving you more layers and layers of different aromas, no? And then if you taste the wine, you see like in the palate is a beautiful concentration, a really nice balance, well integrating the aging oak that give that note is very well integrated with the fruit, very well integrated with the acidity. We still have a really nice acidity. Obviously, we are not talking about the same acidity than before, but still have a really nice freshness and elegance that we can find in this wine, no? And as well, I think the Cabernet Franc give that nerve, no, that tension to the wine, that the tannins just stay in your mouth, in your palate. They go very well, but just stay there. And I think this blend to have this small part give that part as well to the wine. Again, for me, this wine is very gastronomic. I think you can pair with different dishes. If we talk about food, I will probably go with some game meat, some venison, some wild boar as well, with cheeses, with aged cheeses will be very well. The ones who don't eat meat, probably pan-fried seitan will very well as well. If you use some game meat as well, I will recommend to try with some sour and salty sauce, like a cranberry sauce, for example, to add a little bit of complexity, no, and it will be amazing.
Well, I think at the end, if we are talking about Cabernet Sauvignons from the Penedès in general, the Cabernets, they are very powerful. So it's true that they are not wines, that you can drink them when they are very young, because you have a high acidity, the level of tannins is also quite high, no, in this type of style, more traditional style. And you need more time in the bottle in order to get this complexity and this rawness that they are good for drinking, no. So if you want a wine, of a Cabernet Sauvignon wine that is capable for aging many years in the bottle, then I think this is a good option, no, because at the end nowadays we have shown, and this is something that is available, no. We have old vintages of Cabernet Sauvignon Reserva de Habre from vintage from the 90s and 80s, and they are really very interesting in order that, or the 2000s, they are aging very well in the bottle, and they are now in the right moment. No? So it's true that for Cabernet Sauvignons here in the Penedès, you need more time in order, to get the right point for drinking. And I can remember when I was the technical director in the company, that when I was tasting, Cabernet Sauvignons from Chile, for instance, when I tasted them, I was really surprised because, after the harvest, you could drink them, and they they were ready, you know, and this is not the case here in the Penedès. You need really more time, but then these wines, they age very well, no? And especially with this acidity, they have a long life along the years.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mireia. It's a full complexity in the wine that you can see the capacity of the aging is fantastic.
Yes, well, here we have an image, no, of the wine library. So we have a collection of all vintages of Gran Reserva, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Reserva Cabernet Sauvignon, and they are keeping so well in the bottle, no. And nowadays we are some magnums of Gran Reserva from the 90s and 2000. They are available in the market also. So if you are interested, they are really in very well conditions because we just changed the cork last year from many bottles, and we can assure you that these wines are keep very well and will keep very well during the next 20-25 years. So these are the vintages that are available nowadays: 97, 99, 2001, and 2004. And perhaps we can go through the last one, no?
Yes, we go to our last wine.
Yeah, Viña Scala. So this is our icon wine in Jean Leon. It was this vineyard was planted in 1963. It's the oldest vineyard that we have in our domain. And well, of course, here we get very low yields. The soil is very poor, but we get perhaps 3,000 kilos per hectare. So you can see that's the soil here. It's a calcareous clay soil. You know, it has a little bit more dark color at the top, the first 30 centimeters, because of the fertilization. But it's true that at the end there are a lot of calcareous concretions that are called lutitas, and at the end we get high concentration in the wines that come from this vineyard. In this Viña Scala, every vintage we put a different painting of a Catalan artist in our labels. So the vintage 2013, we have a painting of Gloria Muñoz, which is a Catalan painter. It's a woman that is very successful. And here we have a sunset in the Penedès, no? But the last vintages we had also Bofarull, we had Mariscal, we had also Subirat, we had also what else? Moscardó and Mariscal also. So at the end, we have tried to choose, you know, very popular and well-known Catalan artists for the labels in our wines. And the vintage 2013 was a very good vintage for reds. We have to say that it was also rainy year at the beginnings of the year. Especially we had also low temperatures. So everything all the vegetative period started a little bit later because of the temperatures. But then we had very moderate temperatures during all the maturity period and no rains, you know. So at the end, it was one of these years that the winemaker can choose the right moment to pick the grapes. No, sometimes this is not happening because, you know, if you have some rain or you get problems during the harvest time. But this year we really could choose the right moment at the right time. And so this is a Gran Reserva. So this means minimum 2 years in the barrel and then 3 years in the bottle. And these wines, you know, have a traditional style. So here we are talking about the maceration of the skins, skin contact within 3 weeks and sometimes also 1 month. So we do a lot of extraction of these of the skins where we have the majority of the aromas and the tannins that are giving us the structure in the wine.
Yes. Here we are talking about like a complex, no? A complex city, complex wine, elegant, concentrated, balanced. I can find like a lot of describers for this wine. I really like it. But one thing I would like to mention is about the name. Viña La Scala. La Scala, well, the icon wine of Jean Leon is because of his big dream, no? His big success restaurant, La Scala in Beverly Hills. Probably one of the things like make Jean Leon the most happy man, no? And this is and he had this beautiful restaurant, and of course he had this amazing wine as well. When we talk about this wine, I think again, for me, this wine is very complex. I think need time to open a little bit. It's changing in your glass. It's evolving and evolving. If you see the color, we are talking about 2013. Again, we have a deep concentrated color, very bright, but with some garnet notes as well. Like start to talk about the age. And if you smell about the wine, it's beautiful. The smell always make me remember like a compote of fruits with some herbs, with some Mediterranean herbs. Here in this wine, I always find a little bit of thyme, a little bit of rosemary as well, combined with that licorice notes, a little bit of pepper as well, a little bit of that green bell pepper. But here you cannot notice a lot because, okay, we are talking again about some aging. And if you already taste it on the palate, is wow, it's amazing. No, it's a full body wine, very rich. The tannins are just fulfill all your mouth, but it's very smooth. It's very elegant. The entries is perfect. It's go just horizontal on your palate. The concentration, the persistence that they have, the length is beautiful. It's almost like and again, the acidity, I still perceive the acidity. That's sour sherry, let's say, like you can feel like when you eat the sour sherry and you have that sensation in your palate, no? In terms of food, well, here I can think in some meat. I can think in some filet mignon here, no? I can think in very well-aged cheeses. We go with this wine, probably as well in some duck, probably some elegant dishes, no? Some will go perfect with this wine because it's a very elegant and balanced. So yes, if you have any other suggestion of dishes, I'm happy to hear. I can cook at home and try it. I think this is a little bit of the Jean Leon work. The idea of today was to share with you, with Mireia here. We have the possibility to have Mireia. Thanks, Mireia, for your time, and to introduce you to the work of Jean Leon, no?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and finally, I would like also to mention that we are doing a lot of events and we offer a lot of activities for wine tourism here in our visitor center in the winery. So we are offering walking tour to the vineyard, blending, do your own blend, paella workshop, eco-friendly rides, hot air balloon trip. And we are doing also a lot of cultural events, especially related to music and art. So in this moment, we have an exposition behind us that is related to Guino Bart, which is a very famous Catalan artist, and it's an exposition related to the jazz and wine. So I hope you will have the opportunity to come to our visitor center and enjoy all these activities, and why not to come to some of our cultural events. I hope you enjoy the wines, and please, if you have any questions or any remarks, we would like to hear them. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much to be here again with us. And as Mireia said, we will be waiting for you when you can travel and came here to the Penedès to visit us. And feel free, please, if you have any questions or anything that you want to share, we are here to hear you.
Muchas gracias, Brenda and Maria. Really appreciate all the information that you gave us. It was such a rich history. So we're just looking through the chat now with some questions. I can answer one actually from Pierre. Hi Pierre. So basically we carry the 3055, the Rosé Chardonnay, the Petit Verdot Merlot, and then we also have the Viña Gigi, which is the Chardonnay, the Le Havre, which is the Cabernet Sauvignon Reserva, and also the La Scala, which is the Cabernet Sauvignon Grand Reserva. So everything we tasted today at this webinar, Estate Wine carries. So questions. We have some questions that were sent directly to us. We have some shy clients, but they didn't send it over to our sales. Did COVID-19 affect your winemaking process? And if so,
Uh, COVID affected not our winemaking process. It was more the rains, during the harvest time because we had to work more hard than ever. But COVID affected us very much our sales, especially because, in 70% of our market was in Spain. And in Spain, it was a disaster because during 1 year, a majority of the restaurants and hotels, they were partially closed or totally closed. No, so this affected a lot of our sales.
okay. Yeah, so I hope COVID-19 ends already so we can all visit your vineyards and actually go there to Spain. It would be really amazing if you could. Well, looking at the questions, actually you covered a lot of them already, which is already the food pairings and the tasting profiles. So I think that's most of the questions that already. So to our attendees, if you have any other questions, please feel free to send it our way, and we'll gladly answer them via email or through message. So, Brenda, Maria, I want to thank you again. It was really so informative. I particularly enjoyed the fact that John Leon takes so much effort and inspiration for their bottles and the rich history behind it, especially everything that was drawn inspiration from John Leon's life. It's really a storytelling wine, in my opinion. That is such a conversation starter. So we're really happy to have this wine and to distribute it to the Philippine market. So I'm excited that everyone's going to start trying this already and hopefully be the talk of the town already.